My name is Kendra Ward, and that was a little bit of a tune called South Winds. Lots of hammer dulcimer players play that tune, and if you would have noticed, I added a whole bunch of little fancy things to it to dress it up. What I used were arpeggios, and that's what I plan to teach you about in this lesson. Arpeggios are simply the three notes that make up a chord. When someone plays a chord, they play three or more notes at the same time. For example, here's what a chord sounds like. I'm playing 4 notes at the same time. But if I were to play an arpeggio, it's a chord broken. And what I mean by that is I play them one at a time. The notes that make up the chord. Now they're real easy to find on the hammer dulcimer. This is a box which contains our G scale. To find arpeggios, you would find the first note in your scale, the third note in your scale, the fifth note in your scale, and the eighth note, which is also the same as your first note, only an octave higher. What this sounds like on the hammer dulcimer is this. That's a G arpeggio. It's called a G arpeggio because it is named by the first note of the scale. These are the notes that would make up a G chord. G, B, and D. And you can play those in any kind of order, any kind of combination, randomly, and they will always go together. You can also find them in the lower octave of the key of G. 1, 3, 5, and 8. This gives you a wider area to find them on your instrument. It opens up your instrument for lots of new possibilities. The lower ones sound like this. The higher one, and you can play them going up, coming back down, or in any random combination. Going up, coming down, and in any random combination that you would like. You can also play any 2 of these notes together at the same time to create harmony. Any 2 will go together in any combination whatsoever. That's what creates harmony in your songs. Once again, we call this a G arpeggio because it starts on the G, which is the first note of your scale. These notes, G, B, and D, are the notes that would make up your G major chord. Let's take a quick look at our D. Here's our box that holds the D scale. We would play the first note, the third, the fifth, and the eighth. Those are the notes that will make up a D chord. 1, 3, 5, 8, D, F sharp, and A. They sound like this on your hammer dulcimer. You can play it coming back down, and you can combine them for harmony. And you can also play your lower D, F sharp, A, and D. And you can put any combination of them together to create harmony. And let's take a quick look at our C. As you see by now, the pattern works the same no matter what key you're in. You just move up or down on your instrument. Here we're coming clear up here to the key of C. 1, 3, 5, 8. The notes that make up a C chord are C, E, and G. And you have lower ones, and you can combine them for harmony too. Now, I'm sure that you have a general idea of arpeggios and how to find them. I want you to try this little exercise. I want you to play one at a time random arpeggios in G. Then I want you to play harmony with them, just randomly. And if you look at your boxes, one idea that you can practice to get used to finding them is to play one out of this box with one out of this box. For example, you could play this B and D, this G and G, this G and B, this G and D, and so forth. So try that. Try playing harmony notes, and then try playing mixing them up out of your boxes. And just get used to finding them on your instrument. I'd like to talk a little bit about notes that are the same on your instrument. They serve a couple of different purposes, and I just wanted to point those out to you. If you take a look on your instrument at this D and you hit it, there's another D that's exactly the same on the bass side. Same octave, same note. Same here. You have an E here and an E here. You skip one, and you have two more that are the same. And so forth. These notes that are the same are going to help you to be able to use your entire instrument. But they also serve another very important point. When you play this D, and you play that D, they look exactly the same, they sound the same, they're the same octave, but there is one difference. That difference is this D is at a position point. This D is not at a position point. When we start with this D at the position point and we play our arpeggio 1, 3, 5, and 8, sounds like this. Play harmony. Those are the notes that make up your major chord, D major chord, in fact. If you start on this D, which is not at a position point, 1, 3, 5, 8, listen to what happens. That's where you would find the D minor notes. The D, F, A, and D make up D minor. Let's take another look at it. D major, notes that make up D major. Starts at a position point. 1, 3, 5, 8. If you were to start now at this E is not at a position point. You would play 1, 3, 5, 8. See, that's the same pattern as we did with the other arpeggios, but this becomes E minor. These are the notes that make up your E minor chord. It is not at a position point, and it would sound like this. And you can play any combination of those together to create your harmony. If you start at a position point to find your arpeggio, it's going to be major. If you start at a non-position point, it's going to be minor. And it's always going to be named by the note that you start on. So we have D major, which we'll put a large M there for major, E minor, F sharp minor, because there's no position point, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, and you see how that pattern develops right up your bridge. Same pattern, same 1, 3, 5, 8. It just depends if it starts on a position point or not to make it major or minor. So, if someone tells you, okay, this is D major, I'd look here, I'd find my D, find my arpeggio notes, and know I would use that. If somebody says the chord's D minor, I'd find the D at a place where there's no position, 1, 3, 5, 8, and those are the notes that I would use as either harmony or fill in or backup. So the notes that are the same help to determine if it's a major or minor chord. We now know how to find arpeggios. We know that in the key of G, we have a G, a B, and a D that makes up that particular arpeggio. But if you take a look at your instrument, don't forget there are G's and B's and D's everywhere. And this is where it starts to get fun and exciting, because you can play so many different kinds of embellishments. Look, We have a D here. We have a G. B. Here's a D. G. B. D. G. B. D. G. B. D. G. B. D. Look at all of those places where you can find the G arpeggios. They're everywhere. I would suggest, as a kind of practice, for you to just play with these notes, randomly hit any of the notes, any combination, randomly hit any two together to make a harmony. And don't forget you have the lower ones, and don't forget that you have the higher ones. They're everywhere. Also, let's take a quick look at our Ds. You know that the D arpeggios are D, F sharp, A, and D. But look where they are on your instrument. They're everywhere. Here's a D, F sharp, A, D, A, D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, and D. They're everywhere on your instrument. Now let's start having some fun, and let's start incorporating some of these into our own tunes. The first tune that I played was a part of South Winds. And first of all, I'd like to just play the bare bones melody. It sounds very pretty just by itself. And then we'll start putting some of these arpeggios in as fill-ins and harmony. Okay, you saw where I paused and counted. In the melody, you have whole notes and half notes. Those are the perfect places to start learning to fill in. I'm going to start playing and filling in this tune to show you how to do it. So if we start with the very first part of the tune, here we go. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, you have that many beats that you can fill in. Happens to be a D chord there, so I know that I would use any D, F sharp, A, or D to fill in. And I can randomly play it in any combination whatsoever. Here's some examples. 4, 5. Here's another example. Yet another. Okay. The idea is to randomly pick any D, any F sharp, or any A to fill in that hole. The next step that you can take is you can play any combination of two of them together as a harmony note. And for practice, you should play any combination just for practice before you get going. They'll make a harmony. Instead of just single quarter notes, single arpeggio notes, now we're going to play harmony. One, two, three. Here's another example. Another example. Two, three, four, five. Okay, so you see I used any combination of two of these notes. Does not matter how you put those together to fill that in. We can take it one step farther, and we can take our quarter note that we filled in with, we can break that into 2/8 notes, and we can play a little faster kind of a fill-in. So I'm still using these arpeggios, any combination, and here's some examples. Another example. One, two, three, and here we go again. So far we've played single notes as quarter notes to fill in, randomly picking any arpeggio. Then we played quarter notes where we played harmonies, picking any two random arpeggios to go together. Then we broke it down and we played the quarter notes into the 1/8 notes. Now what you can do is you can combine all of these different things, quarter notes, harmonies, 1/8 notes, randomly combined the notes and the rhythm together. So I can play something like this. Another example. 5. Okay, so we keep combining these in any way, and that will be used as fill-ins. Now, at the end of that first phrase, I end on a G, and I hold that, and that's another place where you can start filling in. This time, though, we will use our G arpeggios. And remember, we can find our G arpeggios everywhere. D, G, B, 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 and D. And you can find those, you can practice. Okay, so if we were to play this part. Here we go. Here's our D arpeggios. Here's our G. So do you see how we used our D arpeggios when we had a D chord change? We used our G arpeggios when we had the G chord change. And I randomly chose any combination that I wanted there. Random is a good word to keep in mind. If I had to try to go back and play this song exactly like I just played it, I probably could not do that because I did not remember. I just randomly picked these notes to fill in. Later on in the song, you have a C chord change. Here's a G chord. Here's your C chord. And I would use C arpeggios. C, E, or G. And if you don't know what the chord changes are in songs, if it's new songs that you're learning, most of your songs will have the guitar chord changes written above the music so that it will tell you automatically which arpeggios to use to fill in. Now let's take another look at this song. Here's our D. Here's our G. D. G. G. The other good thing that arpeggios do, they provide solid endings, nice endings. And you can see I just ran a straight arpeggio pattern there for that ending. Here's our ending. And all I did was play arpeggios straight up the chalkboard, straight up the instrument to make a nice ending. So we can take these notes and we can fill in our gaps and our holes using those arpeggios within the chord structure of the song. Whatever the chord is, that tells you what arpeggios to use. And then we can break them up into eighth notes, quarter notes, and harmony. The other thing that we can do with these notes, we can embellish the melody by adding a harmony note to the actual melody note itself. Instead of just playing the fill-ins or in the gaps, we can pick one of these notes and we can play it as a harmony note. Here's the melody to the first part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I can just play any random G, B, or D with these melody notes to add harmony. So do you see where I'm just taking the melody note, randomly picking any of these other notes as a harmony note and adding to it? I can pick low ones, don't forget, high ones, however you feel about the song. Makes the song individual for you. So we can do all these variations. I'll play the song through and show you some of these variations. And that was just randomly picking and choosing and using the arpeggios within the chords. Let's take another song and let's look at it for a minute. Nearer, My God, to Thee is a real pretty church hymn, and I thought that we would try to play that one. Here's the melody of it. Okay, I'm going to start filling in those pauses. Let's try that one more time. Arpeggios. G. So you can see how I just started adding random arpeggios within the chord structure and playing them eighth notes, quarter notes, hitting 2 at a time to make a harmony note. It doesn't matter, just as long as you play any combination of the arpeggio notes that make up that chord. We can take it one step farther and I can show you a little bit how I can add harmony to the melody note of this song. Okay, so that's taking those songs and that's adding the arpeggio notes as fill-in notes and as harmony notes. You've probably heard these kind of embellishments in songs. Those are simply using arpeggio notes once again, but they're played very, very quickly. I call that a whizzle stick. This is the musical notation which tells you to play the notes in succession rather than at the same time, in quick succession. On your instrument, those are the notes that make up your G arpeggio. But once again, we have them all over our instrument. A whizzle stick is easy to play and easy to see. Simply a triangle that connects arpeggio notes. If you're playing a song, you come to a note you think you want to add a whizzle stick to, you find the 2 notes below it in the arpeggio and make a triangle formation. If, for example, B is the note of your melody, here's a G, here's a D, there's a triangle form. B is your melody note. That's the note that should be played last when you play this. You want that melody note to ring out and to last. You want that one to be the one that's heard. Begin with your right hand. Right, left, and right. Sounds like this. Played very, very quickly with a sweeping motion. And you need to keep your hammers close to the strings. The closer you can keep them to the strings, the faster you can play it. If you make big movements, you can't play it as fast. But it blends so that it almost sounds like it's a chord. It almost sounds like all of the notes are played together. Melody note is the last note that you hear. Find the 2 below it. Bring it up to the melody note. And that's a whizzle stick. You can find these anywhere on your instrument once again because you have arpeggios everywhere on your instrument. There's one I left out. If your G were your melody note, here's the note below it, the one across from it. There's your triangle formation that you can see. G would be your melody. Start with your right hand, left hand, and right hand on the melody note. The closer you keep your hammers to the instrument, the faster you can play it. You can connect all of these with triangle forms. Here you have GBD, GBD here, B, D, G here, GBD here. Here's another triangle form. Here's one. They're all over your instrument. Now you have a paper enclosed in the video, and I would recommend taking that and practice finding all of these triangles. Play them as quickly as possible. Start here, play GBD, BDG, DGB, GBD, and so forth. Start on this side, do the same thing. Play them as quickly as possible. Get used to where those notes are. And remember, the melody note is always the last one played, the one on top, the one that should ring out, and the one that you should hear the last. That helps keep the melody intact. So, practice going back and forth and playing all of these notes. When you incorporate them into a song, the melody note is the note that should come right on the beat of the song. The other two notes should come in just a hair before the beat. So, if you have a beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can hear 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm hitting this B on the beat every single time. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the melody comes right on the beat. And then when you incorporate them in your songs, here's a little bit of south wind. 1. Melody always comes right on the beat. These are all your G Whizzle Sticks. You can find the same formula looking at D Whizzle Sticks, D arpeggios, D, F sharp, A, D. These are the notes that make up your D chord. D, F sharp, A, D, A, let's say the melody note is an A. Here are the other two notes that would make your Whizzle Stick. D, F sharp, A. If your melody were an F sharp, A, D, F sharp, and so forth all over your instrument. All you're doing is simply connecting the arpeggio notes. So take that paper that I've given you and just practice going through those as much as possible. Here's some of your Ds. They make really nice endings to songs too. There's an ending. If you put them in other songs, Nearer My God to Thee, for example, we played 2, 3, 4. Here's adding some Whizzle Sticks. Here's G's. Just remember that the melody note always comes on the beat, and the other two are kind of grace notes or pickup notes just before the beat. All through this video, we have looked at different ways to embellish a melody using arpeggios. Now, I'm going to take a very common tune, Golden Slippers, and I'm going to play it, and I want you to listen for all the different things that we did. Okay, I took the arpeggio notes, I filled in with those notes whenever I had pauses. I filled in with quarter notes. Sometimes I broke those up into eighth notes. And I randomly chose them from all the notes on the hammer dulcimer. Low notes, middle notes, high notes. Arpeggios are found everywhere. I also use them as harmony notes from time to time with the melody note. And I use them as Whizzle Sticks. I use them as endings. I just placed them anywhere that I had a pause and that I randomly felt I could add something. I want you to take any song that you know very well. Take the song, play the melody, and see if you can add these different ways of using arpeggios to embellish your tune. And every time you go through that tune, see if you can play it a little bit differently. Don't remember what you did to embellish it. Try to change it constantly. That way, you can get away from playing an arrangement that you memorize and play music that's as different and individual as you are every time you play it through. Have fun with your arpeggios and happy playing.